we've spent a fair amount of time over this show's history, both on its early internet-only days and now on AM radio, on some real specifics in terms of pension reform. So our audience, and given you've seen some of our guests, we've got a pretty bright audience. In fact, some would argue our audience is brighter than the hosts. What did he miss specifically? What do you see that he dropped the ball on? Was it just a question of the numbers? He didn't cut far enough? What would have been the appropriate way to really fix the situation once and for all?
He didn't cut far enough. The poster boy for the pension reform was the retired fire chief who was getting $198,000 a year and a 6% COLA, cost of living increase a year. Okay, he's losing the COLA for a few years, maybe as much as 10 at that point, but he's still getting $198,000 a year when he retired with $60,000 a year. Okay, there were a variety of sweetheart deals like that in the city. 26 cents of every dollar goes to pensions in this city, not to current expenditures. That number has to be cut back.
What's the rate typically in other cities our size?
Other cities our size would run 18, 16, 18. But for those who still have this type of old-style pension and don't really have, the pensions paid each year. I mean, these are sort of defined benefit plans. Mm-hmm. If you move to something where you do every year, you fund the pension, that's different. You have then essentially no future costs at that point because you've already paid for those costs.
Okay.
Is the real answer the hybrid 401k program that Ms. Raimondi instituted, or do you see the city essentially backing itself to the point where they're going to have to go to a pure 401k?
I think the hybrid 401k is probably all right. The pure 401k is certainly better. It's much more easier to manage in the long run at that particular time. There are a few advantages to the hybrid 401k. It's probably more politically acceptable at this particular time, so we could actually get that passed, I think.
Now, politically acceptable in that you're not changing the ground under people who've been there for a long time?
Right. I mean, you're giving them some of the same ground. Clearly, some of it is being changed, but some of it is not. And I think in that way, it's a little more politically palatable.
You talk about political fallout from the lack of any property tax increase. Yeah, we just had a significant one here in Providence. The way that was executed, and I use that term literally, and particularly if you're the owner of a Providence apartment building, it literally means execution in some cases. What was your take on that? The most recent tax increase?
Well, they do it the same way they've always done it. The Providence City Council takes no public comment. What they do is that in committee meetings that they will generally have, 10 a.m. to noon on a Wednesday, which makes it great for working people to attend, they will have public comment in committee. They then go into the city council, and there is no public comment. So they do it among themselves at this particular time. And as a result, I don't want to say it's secret, we all know it's coming, but the opportunity to stop it is really very limited.
So then, as mayor, will you change that format, or is that a city charter issue?
It's not a city charter issue. It is a city council issue. The mayor is not a dictator. But I would certainly have I could certainly call many more public comment sessions on budgets. You could do it on Saturdays. You could do it on evenings. You could do it when you could really get the populace involved in these type of questions. And if the city council still refuses to take comment, well, it's their own political peril at this point.
So in so many cases in Rhode Island, the executive position is, I wouldn't say neutered, but certainly weakened. And the power of the bully pulpit seems to be really, and public relations seems to be your primary weapon here.
Yes, I would agree. But it's still an important part of the job.
Right. What do you say to Providence landlords? And in my analysis after doing some research is that there's a lot more, when it comes to conventional apartment stock, there's a lot more local ownership of Providence apartments than there is in many cities of this type. What do you say to Providence apartment owners as mayor? They feel like a lot of the burden of this most recent tax increase landed squarely on their backs and left them in a position really unable to adapt until literally leases change over, at which point in time they point to a potentially catastrophic increase in rents across a city which is already difficult to rent in. What do you say to them? What, as mayor, what would be your step to remedy that situation?
Well, the landlords will be having to raise rents when it comes around. So the tenants should really be involved in this as well. But to the landlords, we won't do this again. Providence cannot stand further tax increases at this point. We've got to live within our budget at this point and stop, whether you hit the east side, whether you hit landlords, whether you hit somebody else. Providence has the highest commercial tax rates in the nation.
Wow.
I mean, that's a proven fact. We've had it 2 years in a row. I doubt it's going to last for a third year. This whole bully thing about, we didn't raise commercial tax rates this year, except on landlords, we were the highest 2 years in a row, and we're still the highest.
Yeah, let's let everybody else catch up.
Well, possibly, but.
So then what do you add, so you've got this category 4.5 hurricane, tsunami, and that, of course, is before, on the state level, you've got a legal interpretation of the pension case before it.
Yes.
All right. What do you do at this point? It seems like so many opportunities have been wasted. In the past 10 and a half, 11 years going forward, post-Cianci administration, it just seems like there's bungled opportunity after bungled opportunity. There's no vision for this city. I don't see, regardless of how you feel about, Vincent A. Buddy-Cianci, he articulated a clear vision for the direction he wanted to move the city in. Do you see that right now in the current administrations?
I do not see that in the current administration, but let me tell you what I would do. This city should really be an education city. One of the things we have over Detroit, name a major educational institution in Detroit. You can't. There is no mover at this particular time. We not only have Brown, yes, my alma mater. We have RISD. We have Johnson and Wales. We have Providence College. We have satellite branches from other institutions at this point. This should really be an education city. And much like the old Julie district, which we tried to make into an arts district and it didn't really fly, is now a knowledge district. We really need to be a knowledge city. The city needs to lay the infrastructure for that type of thing and work with the colleges and universities. What's rising over in the old arts district, Julie district, which is the new medical school, the new physician's assistant school, and hopefully Rhode Island College's new nursing program, all within blocks of each other, could be an incubator for the city in all areas of the city. Okay? And this is what they're trying to bleed some of the colleges dry. Going back to Mayor Tavares, he sold off various sections of the city to Providence College and Brown University and Johnson and Wales. He has attempted to bleed them in other ways as well. And these institutions are not going anywhere. Brown has been here since 1764. It's not going to pick up and move away. It wants to work with the city and the state. It's going to stay right where it is, and it will work with the city and the state if it is approached in a better way and given opportunities. Why can't we turn our failing high schools, 8 of the 11 worst high schools in the state are in Providence? Why can't we turn these over to the universities as quasi-charter schools to run? Why can't Hope High really be run by Brown University, which can use it in its master's in education program? They need to be given a much better, freer hand to do that. And I understand the union issues that will raise, but this is a way for the university, as an example, to work with it. Why can't Rhode Island College do the same thing with the high school that basically sits on its grounds over there on Mount Pleasant, another failing high school? Why can't these become part of the university campuses at this particular time for our students under an agreement? You have to take 1,000 Providence students, okay? We're going to run a high school. You're going to take 1,000 students. Just take them. Do with them as you want. Educate them. We'll have kneecap tests. We'll have all things to do that. But it's yours to do as an educational experiment, more than an experiment, as an educational opportunity for your students and ours at this particular time. That's where we really need to go in Providence.
Yeah, we're at such a rock-bottom state that I can't see how anything could hurt.
Well, there are companies here that are trying to hire, but they don't have the skilled staff to do that. They're advertising in other parts of the country, trying to bring people in. But, who wants to come into a state at this point with high tax rates and high property taxes and that type of thing? And they attract some people. You can get a good enough package, you will bring people in. But we're missing the opportunity to train our own people. The inability of the Sanchez School to hire a physics teacher this year because of union issues and step issues and where you had to bring them in. I mean, physics teachers are as rare as hen's teeth. They have to be paid more than English teachers. Sorry, that's the market. But it's a crime not to be able to place that type of a teacher in a school where the students would like to go on in healthcare-related fields but are not learning physics because there's no physics teacher.
That's astonishing. When you look at the more professionally run school districts in this country where not only are they handling all the basics, but they're incorporating languages like Mandarin and Arabic, as well as advanced placement programs across the spectrum, we can't even get borderline functionality here in our school system.
8 of the 11 failing schools, and they don't even rate Hope high now because it's so off the chart they can't even rate that high. But 8 of the other 11 are among the worst in the state. Now, we also have the best school, Classical. Let's give the city some credit there. But it's run totally differently with this type of thing. It has a long-term staff. It's tests to get into it. It has large-scale parent support, wealthy parent support with that type of thing. I understand a lot of our students are poor, but why can't we turn some of these schools over to major educational institutions that we have?
Do you find some irony that the two potential gubernatorial candidates are both graduates of a high school that is completely in a contradictory manner to the rest of the school systems in the state?
It just proves my point.
Right.
It just proves my point.
And yet, for Mr. Tavares not to want to export that model literally down the street is astonishing.
Yeah.
He on one hand, he is the embodiment of the success of that model. His life is testament to the fact that model works.
Yes. He received all sorts of special education, not through the years, extra education, especially during the summers, from private programs. Good, great, wonderful that he took advantage of that. Every child should get that opportunity.
Right. And all you have to do is see pictures of children and parents across the country lining up for lotteries for charter schools and see the raw human emotion in what is very often an immigrant family who recognizes the value of education, to see that the crime that's taking place here in Rhode Island. Would you incorporate some of that into the pilot agreements that are in existence right now, or do you see that as an extra, a system extra to the pilot programs with the universities?
I would see it as the pilot programs are set. You could go back and renegotiate them. But I would like to open it up on a much more collegial, not if you don't do this, we're going to tax you type situation. And that's been the threats with these type of things.
Well, you only have to look at Bryant and Smithfield and what happened in the state legislature there this year.
Yeah, exactly.
To understand that what folks don't seem to get is Providence. My mantra is Providence without Brown, RISD, J&W, et al., we become Bridgeport.
Or Detroit.
Or Detroit. I'm not sure which is worse.
We have better seafood than Bridgeport, though. Hey, we are halfway through the program, which means we do have to take a quick break. CoalitionRadio.us on Facebook, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. And a big thank you to everybody checking in with me over on Twitter at Coalition_Radio. I think after the break, maybe possibly, P.O., you could talk about, tease our guest for next week after the break.